All right, we're gonna kick things off going over the patch 1.10 notes, which in addition to fixes and features also include some card rebalances. So we're gonna give some thoughts on these. This isn't my first time seeing these. I peeked over some of them this morning, but I wanted to put some thoughts into a video because people have talked about how they enjoy getting my concise points. Yeah, Declan's here. He wanted to hang out for a little bit. I would just like to reiterate that I love the kind of clear communication that they tend to give in terms of these are things to expect in the next change, which is interesting. So adding an escalation to Hush's repeatable cost is very interesting. I think that's probably a good fix over or a good fix for it overall. I like that the base cost of the card is going to stay the same and like it still has some repeatable effects. So if you want to play Hush, you'll be able to play it, what, 3 times with 12 mana? It'll go 3, 4, 5, I imagine. So that's 12 total. Hey, German, thanks for the 26 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Grandfather Ramuel will give more hugs. More hugs! We always need more hugs, don't we, Declan? Oriental's level up requirement is interesting. I'm interested to see what they do with that. He is pretty trivial to level up, which is good to note. All right, moving along here. Ezreal. I actually don't know that I'm really a fan of this Ezreal change. I I kinda feel like I kind of feel like this change doesn't really do anything. Like I don't feel like changing Ezreal to level see the target enemies 10 times versus 8 is really like a meaningful difference in it. Like this doesn't change the kind of late game feel bads of hey, I played this thing and then I killed you with burst spells. So, I don't know. It's probably fine. Like I don't actually think that Ezreal is like really offensive from terms of pure power level perspective, even where it was at 8 targets. I think it can oftentimes lead to feel bad style games, but I don't think that this adjustment really addresses that kind of feel badsy of it. I agree with the assessment that I think I would have preferred this has to see you target things, like adjust it to like 4 or maybe even 3 targets that he sees. So that way he's obligated to be on board and give your opponent a chance to interact with him before he does it. I think would be the change I would like to see. I think this basically you can still play the game where you just like don't put Ezreal into play until he's leveled, and then you play Ezreal and then your opponent dies to burst spells. So like that play pattern is still going to exist. They haven't addressed that with this. The Lee Sin change is great. Like the Lee Sin changes all around are excellent. So they made his stats worse, but they made his cost be less, which is excellent. And I love that this is a knob that they are twisting in terms of champion balancing. Adjusting Lee's champion spell to be Sonic Wave is huge because this means Lee's champion spell enables Lee, right? So the Sonic Wave creates a fleeting resonating strike, which means your second Lee in hand can double enable Lee, which is quite fantastic. I agree with the assessment that Dragon's Rage wasn't really synergistic with yeah. Yeah, like the change that they made here, both his stat line and his cost and his champion spell, both fit better into the style of deck that kind of want to play this card, which is really great. So I think this is an excellent change overall. Love the direction that they went with this. They kept the core of the card the same, but just pushed it to be more playable. Followers and spells. Worships. I think this is a fine change. I think the linear Demacia decks are really strong, and I think just a small, I don't think they were too strong, but like a small pullback in terms of how quickly they kill you is a good change, I think. I love this Flash of Brilliance change back. I actually, when they originally changed Flash of Brilliance to 4, I said that kind of surprised me. I think, just by the amount of Heimerdinger that you saw in Constructed after the change, I think changing Flash of Brilliance and changing Elusive Turrets off of 3 was too much of a change. And I like that they're dialing this back, and this will hopefully push Heimerdinger back into the format a little bit. Again, with the goal being that like most champions are playable somewhere. Overgrown Snapvine gets an extra point of power. Sure, card's not super playable. Maybe it's more playable now. I can't hurt. Not a bad change. Can only be a net positive. Crack Shot Corsair, again, just another like this change is fine. We're like adjusting a number ever so slightly, trying to make a card that's not super playable potentially see play. Decent. Jagged Taskmaster, another card that, okay, we're just like adjusting numbers to try and see if we can add another card to be competitive in the format. And again, I love this about Runeterra, that their goal isn't just to make sure that the top decks aren't busted. Their goal is to just generically make sure everything in the format can be playable to a degree. And these little adjustments that they're willing to make to cards like this really go a long way towards trying to achieve that goal in a great way. Yordle Grifter. This change is interesting. So this is actually a pretty big power level downtick in the Sejanni Gangplank deck, which I think is a good thing. I think Sejanni's a really pushed card, and I think that that deck in particular is really strong. So the fact that getting the warning shot now depends on allegiance triggering as well is a big deal. You're going to give up some consistency with what this card's able to do if you're playing it with the Freljord Splash. Hey, thanks for the 3/4 of a year, Jojo. I really appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. Cygnus Boonstalker, again, another card that's just like wasn't super playable. They're just adjusting numbers to try and make more cards playable overall, which is great. I love this. This is awesome. So standard Gauntlet update, multi-deck pick and ban. This is almost assuredly them getting set up to have some kind of tournament mode supported in the client. So this is you submit 3 different decks that have no overlapping champions and have a different region combination in each of the decks and a maximum of 1 championless deck. And then you see your opponent's 3 decks and champions and regions, and you ban one, and then they each pick one of the other 2 remaining to play. And I assume in a tournament setting, after you ban one, you'll have you'll play best of 3 basically with the remaining 2. Obviously, this is best of 1, but I like this. I think people who despise playing against a very specific deck type can play this mode and really enjoy it because they'll always be able to ban whatever deck type they don't really want to play against. So it's good for mitigating player fatigue as an on-demand game mode. I also, yeah, so like I had been talking about a Runeterra event at the end of the month that I got invited to, and I actually told them that I was bailing out of that today because the deck requirement for that tournament was they had to be you had to have 3 decks, none of which overlapped regions, and I just genuinely don't have a 3rd deck that I really love playing with that restriction, and I just don't really want to dedicate an entire day of stream content to playing in a tournament when one of my decks I really don't like. And like these requirements here where you can like overlap regions but just can't overlap champions or region combinations, I think is really excellent. I think I could easily find like 3 or even 4 or 5 decks that like fit these requirements really nicely. So players will be able to pick tournament decks in a setting like this and still have a good variety of things that they can pick and not be super restricted. New lab. Instead of receiving random cards or choosing from a set of pre-constructed options, you'll be challenged to brew the perfect deck, or if you'd rather get right into the action, you can quick play and queue up with one of Heimerdinger's own concoctions. Welcome to the jungle, inspired by the jungling gameplay of League of Legends. Take the time to clear your opponent's jungle camps, and you'll be rewarded. Both players have vulnerable, immobile jungle monsters on their board. Killing your opponent's jungle monsters grants you buffs with your choice of opponent effects. Neat, that's cute. So like custom game modes based on League of Legends and how that works. Expedition changes. I'm not really super interested in those. We'll have cross play friend challenges on, sure. So across regions, that's great. Bug fixes are great. Yeah, so a lot of good stuff in here. I think pretty much all the balance changes are good, with the exception of Ezreal just kind of being a whatever change. Like could definitely take it or leave it. The rest of them all seem great though. Super excited about this. Yep. All right, let's play some Runeterra, huh?